Hi everybody, Colin, Tansley and Peter Taylor, Risk of Watchdogs Live, our weekly episode, a little bit later than usual. That's because my fault, because I was delivering some training. So we're back again with a few bits and pieces, relevant updates and things to be aware of out there. All right, Peter, you okay?
Yep. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Colin.
Let's just scroll forward to our next slide. So what it's all about, providing you with knowledge, raising awareness, and ultimately, given our backgrounds, preventing crime. Mostly digital, but occasionally we will touch on the sort of conventional stuff as well with using Peter's expertise in the fraud arena. And this week, you're going to be touching on SIM swaps, Peter.
Yeah, on this week's Friday Scam Watch on LinkedIn and Twitter, I talked about SIM swap and what it actually is. One of the great things nowadays compared to 15 or 20 years ago is that when you upgrade your phone, it's all relatively simple, and that's because so much data is held on the SIM. So when you get a new handset, put your SIM in, and you've got your camera roll there, you've got your apps there, your emails, any antivirus apps that you might have had on your phone. So everything transfers, and it's really easy. It's very popular, it's very convenient, and at least 50,000 SIM swaps per day, legitimately, go on in the UK. How that's done, or what facilitates that, is that your mobile phone operator, the mobile phone operators have got agreements between them that you can swap a SIM, provided that you provide your mobile identification number, your MIN, and your port authorization code, your PAC, and then that verifies your SIM, and your SIM is called a subscriber identity module. The downside to that, though, is it leaves you open to fraud, and that obviously for cyber criminals, if you imagine somebody else having your phone, having access to everything on your phone at the same time as you haven't, it wouldn't take them long to lock you out, to have all your secrets, potentially access your bank accounts, your email accounts, to make changes. And it's pretty disastrous for people when they actually suffer a SIM swap. There's more details of this in my Friday Scam Watch. I think I mentioned it in my Friday Scam Watch. If not, there's another post up where I've actually explained quite a lot of details on it anyway. So keeping it simple and within the time frame and spirit of Risk Watchdogs, I thought it might be worth mentioning a couple of ways that you might be able to identify if you have been a victim of a SIM swap. The other thing what I would mention is that the criminals use or trick you into providing your mobile identification number or your PAC, your port authorization code, or they trick your subscriber into providing that to them in the belief that it's you. And then on top of that, we've got things like data leaks, breaches and attacks on mobile phone providers as well. And we've just seen the T-Mobile hack or criminal hack where it's claimed up to 10 million accounts have been compromised. Again, up to doesn't mean a lot, but certainly I think T-Mobile themselves were admitting at least 37,000 have been compromised in some way. So how do you know it might be happening to you? Well, if you suddenly start getting messages under two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication or strange messages, then that might be an indicator that somebody else is using your phone. But as regards your phone itself, it's said that it goes silent or it goes blank for a while. Albeit you might not witness that. They like to do it when you're at home, because if you're at home, you've still got access to the internet on your phone, so it looks live, but you may not have access to your actual phone network. So you may see extended loss of signal with your phone, so it just won't connect. Calls and texts not going through. you're unable to access your own accounts, or, as I say, suspicious notifications. Another one to look out for is open emails. So if you open your email account and you find that emails that you haven't opened are now opened, then you may have a SIM swap compromise. Obviously, you can contact your mobile provider. There have been examples, though, where some of the mobile providers have been a little over-relaxed and saying, don't worry about it. Certainly one case that I dealt with a guy, he contacted his mobile provider. They told him everything was okay, but it wasn't. And it took him about 7 months to get his money back via his bank and various other things. So it can be really, really inconvenient. So protect your phone as well as you would protect your laptop, because your phone is probably more useful. Protect your colleagues' phones, and if you are a business or an organisation that interacts with the public or with customers, then look at making sure that you've actually got something specific to protect mobile phones. So there are companies I've worked with, like Phronesis Technologies, and they can tell if a device has been SIM swapped. They can also tell if the device is stolen. If it's a stolen handset or whatever. So, obviously there are other providers are out there as well. But we do need to focus more on protecting our smartphones than we have done in the past.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, and I've seen them, in another aspect, just lying around unprotected without the lock on. And it's as you said, it's the window into your personal life, isn't it?
Yeah. What I'm still seeing, Colin, is where people say, "Can I borrow your phone?" And then they run away.
Yeah.
It's as daft as that. Yeah.
That's very good, that, and very relevant, because we see a lot about SIM swap, and I know there's several comments we see on LinkedIn about this. So it's just, like you say, about educating people and making sure they know what it is and how they can combat it.
Yeah, that's the first stage, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okie dokie. So I'm going to talk about crypto and due diligence. Two separate stories, not linked really, other than the word crypto is there. So I put a piece on Cyberbytes about Poly Network. So Poly Network was exploited by, and it's a developing story, this, and I'm trying to sort of keep up with it, but the network was compromised. Poly Network, as I understand it, provides interoperability between blockchains being the electronic ledger for crypto. And somebody who calls himself Mr. White Hat being a term for an ethical hacker, exploited the network and has apparently took £433 million away, but has since returned it, most of it. There's some issues around Tether, because that has some sort of security protocol that's preventing the return of the cash, apparently. But I don't necessarily understand the technicalities of that, but that's the way I read it. But apparently the company have now offered the hacker a consultancy's position around security, which often happens, doesn't it? And I've seen various comments about that on LinkedIn, about somebody does essentially a criminal act and gets a job. And there's lots of opinions about that one. So I suppose from where we're coming from with this is just be wary that when you put your crypto, and people are getting into crypto for all sorts of reasons, if you're going to put your assets with another company, you are essentially giving over responsibility and ownership to them, unless you have the private keys. Yeah. So you can get things called cold wallets, and that gives you the ability to control the keys and your assets rather than giving over completely to somebody else. So if you're going to invest in crypto, if you're going to dabble in crypto, then you need to make sure that you've got control, if you can, over those assets as well. It's almost like a backup. So, the people that are going to continue to hit these companies and continue to hit these websites and take away money, thankfully on this occasion, it appears to have been done for the greater good and exposing vulnerabilities, what white hackers do. But that sort of led me on to something else, because somebody came to me a couple of days ago about somebody they thought had been ripped off around crypto investment, and I know you've discussed this before because you've had some involvement as well.
Yeah, I'm just doing one this week actually.
Yeah.
Well, an investigation, not a fraud.
No, but a white hat. So basically, this particular individual, I can't give too much away, invested money, passed over the money, and then was presented with a hefty UK tax bill. And then cannot contact the tax bill came from the company, as I understand it. So that sounds a little bit strange.
Yeah, they're saying that it's capital gains tax, aren't they, Colin?
Yeah.
But it's not taxed as capital gains. You pay it directly to the HMRC. Yeah. It's not taxed at source.
So they, but when I sort of chose to look at the website and did a bit of digging, straight away there were issues with it because the website itself, it gave a London address, which people think it's in the city, it's going to be credible, not necessarily. But if you look very carefully, alongside the actual address, the physical address, there's a phone number, which is not a UK number. It's in Europe. There was no privacy policy. There was no about us. There was no who the team are. There was nothing. No numbers. And I know you've spoken about cloning numbers before. There was absolutely nothing. But then I went a little bit further. I'm just going to put this slide up briefly.
Yeah.
I did a reverse image search on one of the stock images on the website. Okay. And I've taken out all the identification, but if you look at these, 3 of the 4 on here are no longer around. So they've gone. The website's no longer. But just look at the language on the Google search result. It's pretty much the same all the way through.
Yeah.
The image is the same, so they've got a stock image and it looks very grand. But it just screams to me scam. So what I'm trying to get across here is do your due diligence before you give money to the people, for God's sake. You know, these things, people see them as get rich quick schemes, but they're actually get ripped off schemes, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm seeing similar, Colin, with clone websites. So you've got clone websites that are actually clones of bent websites in the first place. Yeah. So they're almost word for the word the same, apart from a name or brand or a phone number or address. The rest of the words are all absolutely identical. I've got correspondence before the investment is taken out where the victim is suspicious. But still goes ahead. And I actually saw quite a reputable person on LinkedIn who I think is falling for this, where he'd put a post up saying, you know, can I really get 3% a day for 6 days? And he put at the end, do I take a risk or don't I? And he was sincerely, I think, reaching out in some way, you know, and he had responses like, go for it, mate. You know, you only live once and all that. But it's a separate thing, isn't it? You've got crypto problems with genuine coin and genuine investments. But the biggest one is you've got non-existent investments that, you know, would have been whiskey vats or diamond mines or gold mines or retina cameras or whatever in the past, the boiler room scams. And it's this, we'll give you 3 to 6% per day over 6 days. You invest £200, they give you back 18% at the end of a week. You think they're absolutely fabulous, and then you give them £5,000, £6,000, £10,000, or whatever. Then they tell you that you've got 30. You know, your next investment's got to be £30,000. Then they tell you you've got capital gains tax to pay, and they're just absolutely ruthless. Absolutely, it's scary. And I mean, I've got one of the guys that I'm trying to help with one of these at the moment. I can, he's nothing less than sort of suicidal.
Yeah, and
all his savings have gone. Into this. And then as well as that, the other warning, I know going slightly over time here, Colin, as well, is that the same people will then contact you to tell you that their crypto recovery asset and that they will deal with the fraud for you, and then they'll ask you for $3,500 up front and take your money again.
Yeah.
People just have got to realise. I mean, put things in perspective. I think 90% of people are fairly decent and honest, but the ones that are just bloody prolific at the moment.
Oh yeah, and it's and crypto is. Yeah, I dabble in crypto. I'm very careful about what I do, and they also say that don't invest any money that you're not prepared to lose. It's a risky game, but and I've no doubt, and we must say this: there are genuine crypto investors.
Absolutely.
Out there. So they want to emphasise that, but you've got to do your own homework or get somebody to do it for you, and just make sure you're happy and handing that over because you may never see it again. So that's really good. Some really relevant stuff there. I hope people have found it useful. So just to emphasise, we do offer risk assessment, cyber fraud, and a whole load of other stuff through Iris. Training is always available. We work individually and collectively, and consultancy as well. So hope that has been useful for everybody.
Let's be careful out there, and you know where we are if you need any help.
Absolutely. Watch out for the pirates. Trust the godfathers of anarchy, as they say. All right. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.